Boxing.
Beats and rhymes.
No one
Can do it better.
But it's
Still
like
swings around about.
conditioning. Like, is he conditioned? Like, what's his name? Hagler was known that he could take a shot because his conditioning was phenomenal. People say his conditioning was out of this world. Frank Bruno, you know, they said he wasn't the best technically, but condition-wise, the guy never hit the canvas because his head was like a bowling pin. It wouldn't go down because he was that conditioned.
Incorrect, young Mr. Yard. Frank Bruno was knocked out by Bone Crusher Smith, by Tim with a Spoon, stopped twice by Mike Tyson, and floored in both of them fights. So he definitely was on the canvas. Just putting that out there to stop misinformation of old school knowledge. So what is it? Near on a month after Daniel Dubois surrendered his WBO strap to Alexander Usyk for all 4 belts, it's all change at Team Dubois. Kieran Farrell, assistant trainer, has amicably split from the camp, and Sam Jones has been installed as manager. Has Daniel's dad, what's his name, Dave or Stan, what do they call him? Has Stan Dubois conceded that doing the PR for a professional athlete at the top of the food chain is not that easy? Sam Jones, when he first got in the game, I wasn't a fan. But his dogged persistence in representing his client to get the best for them has to be admired. He will take the bullets, the verbal bullets. He's also very cocky and humorous, perhaps a little overbearing, but these are the tools required to diffuse the flames from the media and fans that threaten to burn down an athlete and his brand. And obviously, Sam has worked against Daniel and Daniel's dad when he was managing Joe Joyce, who put the first L on Daniel's record. And I'm guessing that Dave or Stan Dubois was very impressed by the way Sam Jones handled the press conference, and he wants some of that in Daniel's career. The alleged gathering or party they had before the Usyk fight resulted in a lot of unwanted headlines that they didn't want, and it will be up to Sam to do damage control on these situations. I don't know if Sam knows what he's let himself in for, in all truth. And if I was him, I wouldn't get too comfortable, because Daniel's dad can change his mind in a minute, and you're out. Daniel's still only 27. It's good to hear that he's not giving up. How useful are the theatrics of someone like Sam Jones in a boxer's team, going back and forth with the opponent, the opponent's coach, or the opponent's promoter? It's hard to give an accurate answer, but the fact that he's got the gig tells you how much Daniel or his dad think it's worth, or possibly even Frank Warren. They're also saying former world heavyweight champion Daniel Dubois parted ways and left trainer Don Charles and will now be trained by Tony Sims in the MATCHROOM gym. This is an unusual situation. Normally, one goes hand in hand with the other. If you're in the MATCHROOM gym, you're normally signed to MATCHROOM, the promotional outlet. The appointment of Sam Jones and the appointment of Tony Sims are telltale signs, especially the appointment of Tony Sims. That Daniel's dad don't want to take all the heat when shit goes wrong, so he's going to give up some control. Now, Nigel Benn has never really interfered with Conor's situation at MATCHROOM or at the MATCHROOM gym, but I have heard that he has offered his opinion on occasion here and there, only to be met with a firm, "This is my way or the highway," from Tony Sims. And Nigel and Tony Sims used to spar. They know each other. Daniel's dad will not boss Tony Sims about. That's an old school Essex man, that. Not happening.
I don't think Don Charles took any shit, but Tony definitely won't take any shit. You know, he's going to want things to go a certain way. Daniel Dubois is a good fighter. He's got a big future ahead of him, and it's a big signing for Tony Sims if that's the case.
Looking at the mentality of Stan or Dave Dubois and all the headlines that Moses Atoma is courting right now. Daniel was Frank's golden boy. Has he been replaced by Moses? What does Stan Dubois think about that? What is the future? Is Frank at a stage where he's took Daniel as far as Daniel can go in his opinion, and perhaps he's fed up of dealing with Daniel's dad? It might not be a case that he just washes his hands off them, but they're just not going to get as much attention as they once was. Moses is Frank's number one priority at Queensberry right now. And Frank hasn't got all them heavyweights on his roster without the thought of getting them belts back to Queensberry. And will he shaft Joseph Parker to make a Torma versus Usyk? Yes! If Tony Sims can train Daniel to have a better run than the one he had with Don Charles, Miller, Hrgovic, then AJ, I think most people would be shocked if he can top that. It leads me to ask why. Why drop Don Charles?
And then obviously Don Charles today. And then we've also seen rumours that Tony Sims is going to be the new trainer, but that's not official yet. So what do you make of it? Did you expect it?
Well, I'd heard there'd been a fallout, like yourself, yesterday. So it didn't really come as a surprise.
Obviously, they had high expectations that they were going to beat Usyk. Surely not laying all the blame on Don Charles for the loss, though. Some people are saying that Don has been treated harshly. Well, that's what they do these days after a loss. They want to change things up. After Shiraz drew with Adames, a fight he clearly lost, they got rid of Nunes. It happens a lot these days. Don Charles will move on. They cemented Daniel's short tenure as champion with that AJ win, and you can't take that away from Don. Can't take that away from him. And that impressive free fight winning streak.
Hi, I'd like to thank Don Charles for the hard work and effort he's put into me over the last 18 months. But now I feel like I need a fresh change and a new start for this next phase of my career, where I look to become two-time heavyweight champion of the world. God bless.
Let us move on.
So Viddal Riley has declared that he's a free agent. That doesn't mean he's not going to work with Boxer. This is only a 4-card year deal with no guarantees on an extension. There's just not enough dates to house the full Boxer roster. Now, Viddal signed what they said was a long-term deal last year, 2024. Well, how long-term was the deal if he's declaring he's a free agent? It seems obvious now that a lot of the fighters are not obliged to see out their Boxer contracts, because part of the deal is that Ben Shalom guarantees them dates on Sky Sports, and obviously Sky Sports has severed ties. Ben Shalom has been quoted to say he's not going to do interviews while he's conducting this deal on the BBC. While he was on Sky, he was trying to control what questions could be asked and what topics can be discussed in his interviews. And it didn't go down very well with the press or fight fans. And with only a 4-fight deal and Ben's inability to engage cohesively with the press, he's probably better off just shutting the fuck up, in all truth. No, but he has to talk the product up. He's got to work with TKV and Fraser Clark for the first show in September for the British heavyweight title and put the work in. You can't just be hiding away from the media. You got to put the work in and promote that fight. Now, Viddal is signed to 258 Management. That's AJ's management company. And so is Ben Whittaker. A lot of people are putting 2 and 2 together, and that Viddal will be heading over to Matchroom with Ben Whittaker soon to follow. But we'll see. We'll see. Viddal is the current British cruiserweight champ, ranked number 12 by the IBF and number 12 by the WBC. Ben Shalom restricted by dates, perhaps. Can't make fights like Viddal versus Billiam Smith, which should have been a good fight. I'd pick Viddal to beat Chris Billiam Smith. Now everybody's framing it like Viddal has signed with Matchroom, signed with Queensberry. He hasn't signed with anybody. So as a free agent, he could still have the option to work with Ben Shalom. Doubtful, but you never know. Viddal actually has a huge social media following through his work with the Misfits, training KSI, etc. He's now the British champion, so he'll be keen to move on, make some money, push through the world rankings and try and get a title shot.
Let us move on.
Matchroom, their deal on DAZN runs out next year, but Eddie has expressed a desire to stay put. They'll likely re-sign. They're saying they've been a great partner. We're a huge part of their business. We know as well there'll be other opportunities in different markets, but we love the relationship with DAZN. And for our global plan and our global events, they're our perfect partner. Not much shocks there, but yo, this is boxing. Between now and next year is a long time.
Let us move on.
Erickson Lubin is in the middle of deciding which opponent to fight. The Russian, Bakram MURTAZALIEV, 23-0, 17 decided distance, 32 years of age. 2 world title wins, stopping Jack Kulkai in 11 for the vacant IBF 154-pound title and then defending it against Tim Tszyu, destroying Tim Tszyu. Tim Tszyu coming off the rebound after losing to FUNDORA. Destroyed him in 3 rounds. Then we got Vergil Ortiz, 27 years of age, 23 wins, no losses, 21 inside the distance. He won the WBC interim title, controversially outpointing Serhii Borachuk, took 2 trips to the canvas, and then outpointed Israel Madrimov in what I would argue is his career best performance. Erickson Lubin, still only 29 years of age, seems like he's been around forever, with a record of 27-2-0, 19 inside the distance. Now, his first world title attempt ended in disaster when he challenged Jamel Charlo for the WBC light middleweight title and he was knocked out in 1 round. In 2022, he challenged Sebastian Fundora for that WBC interim title. He started pretty well. And look, he lost the fight fair and square. But some things are hard to add up, like the damage he accumulated on his face. The injuries didn't look like something a boxing glove would do to someone like Lubin. I've never seen his face damaged up like that. I haven't seen many fighters' face damaged up like that from regular 10-ounce boxing gloves. But he took a bad beating and he was stopped in the 9th. He's only had 3 fights since then, but Lubin won an eliminator against Adriel Holmes in May, 11th round TKO win. But we're not sure if Lubin takes the MURTAZALIEV fight. But because MURTAZALIEV is finding it hard to find credible challengers, MURTAZALIEV is still holding out that Lubin will take the fight. But now they're talking about Vergil Ortiz. Lubin could happen on October the 18th. They're saying Ortiz is the money fight. He's the big golden boy hope. But an interim title is not a world title fight. Not that that matters to PBC fighters a whole lot. He may well opt for the Ortiz fight. Chris Algieri was saying he would rather sacrifice the money and win a legit world title. Paulie Malignaggi on the Boxing Scene channel backed up Chris Algieri, saying you can monetize your world title win later. You can brand off that rather than go for the instant gratification and lining your pockets up. If he really believes in himself and is really prepared to bet on himself, you go take the belt from the Russian and then go back to the negotiating table with Vergil Ortiz and he'll be challenging for your belt. Although after 2 botched attempts for an interim title and a full title at 29 years of age, Lubin may opt to secure the bag over going for the world title. What would you do? I'm running a poll right now. Let me know what you'd do. How do you frame your answer? Is it for legacy and the belts or the financial security of the bag? Should he pick whatever he believes is the easier fight? And if so, what is the easier fight in your opinion? There seems to be a story for all the 154-pound contenders and champions. The reason Vergil Ortiz has opted to go for an Erickson Lubin fight is because he couldn't secure the unification against the newly crowned ZAYAS. But Top Rank, they know ZAYAS is a little green, and while it would be good, in my opinion, for him to take on Vergil Ortiz, I believe he has the skill to do so. He just might not be as battle-tested and perhaps not as tough as Ortiz, but it would be a good fight. Now, Jaron Ennis has become Mr. Unpopular. And it wasn't just this week or last week. It's been for a little while, but it's really getting bad amongst boxing fans and media. Turki El Al-Sheikh replied to him when he asked for a tune-up rather than the fight that was being offered to him against Vergil Ortiz. Turki said he's trying to make real fights, not tune-ups. It looks like Boots is opting to fight the IBO champion, Wisma Lima, who I know nothing about, except he's quite a physically imposing light middleweight, on Saturday, October the 11th at the Wells Fargo in Philly. A hometown fight for Boots. Is Boots taking the easy road with his recent fights? Or is it fair dues that he's trying to acclimate himself to 154? Like Vergil Ortiz had a couple of fights to acclimatize to the new poundage of 154. But for some reason they're saying Boots should just go straight in. And I can see their side of it. I can see Boots' side of it. The fight is being billed as a final eliminator for the WBA title, which Terence Crawford still holds, which I'm sure he's going to vacate at some stage. Why would Terence hold on to the belt and you got this big fight in September. It's a little selfish. It has to be said. Boots, if he wins in October, he'll be in line to fight for the vacant belt. And then you've got FUNDORA, who they're saying is in the process of finalizing a deal to fight Keith Thurman at 154. Thurman's barely done nothing at 147 for the last 4 or 5 years, let alone 154. A lot of people are saying FUNDORA will stop Keith Thurman. Keith's never been stopped. Most people are picking FUNDORA. I'm still weighing it up.
Let us move on.
Then it became one of them evenings. Lamont Roach, he posted up on Twitter, I told you, Ellie Setback getting involved in a boxer's back and forth. Tank getting paid next. What are you doing? We know Tank's getting paid, and good on Tank. We knew he wasn't going to take the rematch with Lamont Roach. For one, he was going to lose the fight because he doesn't have the desire anymore. He wants to check out and cash out. Ellie Setback is the type of individual that doesn't care about the receipts. He doesn't care about that. And there's a lot of people like that. There's a lot of people you cannot debate in boxing because they don't care about the receipts, and they'll start throwing ad hominems, and they'll start talking about, well, I've got money, Tank's got money, so what does it matter what you're saying? So there can be no debates constructed on receipts, facts, accurate timelines. The receipts will tell you that Tank said he was going to rematch Lamont Roach. I was led to believe that if he beat Lamont on March the 1st, then he'd go and take the Jake Paul fight. Fair enough, you're not doing that, cool. Like, what happened with Eddie Hearn? He's been on video after video insistent that AJ's going to fight Jake Paul next. But apparently there was disagreements on what network would get the fight. AJ is exclusive to DAZN. Jake Paul, he fights on DAZN, but, you know, he's exclusive to Netflix in this scenario here. I thought Katie Taylor was exclusive to DAZN, but she was allowed to fight on Netflix. Now I'm being flippant there. I know what it is. DAZN will let Katie Taylor off the grid, but AJ, it's a different debate, different numbers, different viewing figures. They're just not going to let that happen. But Eddie kept talking about this Nikita guy. But Nikita never came on video, well, I haven't seen him, and said anything that we're close to closing the deal. It was just Eddie piping up on this channel, that channel, that channel. And if Jake Paul's played him, he's played him good and proper. Netflix, November the 24th, Atlanta. Davis is currently the WBA lightweight champion. Jake Paul is currently campaigning at cruiserweight. What kind of catch weight is it going to be fought at? It's an exhibition, which basically means it won't be registered on their official boxing records. But I'm assuming it's going to be a real fight, not choreographed, no pulling punches. We don't have to debate the skill gap between the two. But surely that's cancelled out by the size gap. They're going to need more than rehydration and catch weights to make this an even playing field size-wise. Somebody kick the ballistics, bruh.
Kick the ballistics, G.
I'm not against it. This is a new dynamic in boxing. Not a new dynamic, but boxing is actually embracing the entertainment angle as much as the sports. And it's doing it unashamedly, where before they would try to shame the mercenaries who want extortionate purses for perhaps the least amount of work they have to do to get the purse. I've already had my say on Tank Davis and how great guys like Ellie Setback and his fan base think he is. I've already had my say, and I'm not going to keep repeating my material. Let Tank get his bag, but wouldn't it be great if the WBA took the belt from Tank, at least until he's prepared to compete in championship fights, took the belt from him, left it vacant for Lamont Roach and Shakur Stevenson to fight for? Or better yet, Floyd Schofield and Andy Cruz are up next. Perhaps they could fight the winner of Lamont Roach, Shakur Stevenson. They're the type of fights I want to see at 135. We've got Abdullah Mason, Sam Noakes fighting for the vacant WBO title. As far as I know, Keyshawn hasn't trained for the last couple of months, and he did say he's retired. I don't know if he meant it or not. But if his heart's not in it, he's doing the right thing. I don't think American boxers today are less talented than their predecessors. They just seem a little jaded with the sport. Jared Anderson, Keyshawn. Tank's a little different because he's transitioning from the sports element, which is championship fights, to the entertainment fights. Ryan Garcia will be as jealous as anything that Tanks bagged himself a Jake Paul fight. This is the type of fight that Ryan wanted. So if AJ and Jake Paul collapsed over which network was going to broadcast, how comes the PBC and Amazon just conceded the fight to Netflix like that? And look, once Netflix get their grips into Gervonta Davis, let me tell you PBC fanatics, this is going to end up like Katie Taylor. When after she left the DAZN grid, we haven't seen her back on DAZN since when? 2023? Now we heard Jake Paul call out Anthony Joshua, but it was Netflix who called out Anthony Joshua. Jake Paul was the mouthpiece for Netflix. They just want the boxers doing the big numbers. They got Canelo. In women's boxing, they got Katie Taylor, Mike Tyson, and they wanted Anthony Joshua. So Jake was taking one for the team. Now, whether it was just clout chasing or not, Jake knows he couldn't beat Anthony Joshua. But just to get him over there and get his signature on that paper for the fight, Jake was showing absolute commitment to Netflix. If he really wanted to fight Anthony Joshua, he would have went on DAZN. His last fight was on DAZN. This was basically Netflix making a play for Anthony Joshua. You get him over there one fight, and then next you offer him some ridiculous matchup, must take money. And that's what they're going to do with Canelo. You'll never see Canelo fight off the Netflix grid again. Never. And if Crawford wins, you'll never see Crawford off the Netflix grid again. Never. You're never going to see Katie Taylor back on DAZN at this rate.
Let us move on.